Okay, so last time we just had a nighttime encounter with a bat because I'm nocturnal, bitch, or whatever he said, and he was very hands off and like distant and acting like this was the thing he didn't want and wants to go away. And the moment we turned away, he was like, "Actually, this is all my secret scheme because I'm planning on taking down this whole syndicate."
He's like, actually, I'm a tsundere, and like I have love in my heart. I just don't want you to see it.
He's got a lot of emotional baggage that makes him unable to connect with people, and he hates us specifically. But we're the only other people that might be looking into situations that were involved with what happened to Keith, and that's something that motivates him.
Yeah, we gotta find out what happened to Keith.
Gotta find out what happened to Keith. What happened? Where am I?
I don't have good feelings about what happened to you, Keith. I have bad. I don't know.
No, I think we're in the mine. I think we already know what happened to Keith.
Yeah, I think we do, but
that's the narrative irony here. Is that I think the more you go through routes in this game, including Route 65, the more narrative irony is set up by you knowing more about the world at that point than the characters do, as you go through 5 separate storylines that start over and over again.
I honestly love when media does that.
Yeah, but they're still fucking with us. Like we are still playing as people who know more than we do about several things, especially what's his name? Shit. The dead guy.
Excuse me?
Our dead friend. I blanked on his name.
Oh. Sydney.
Sydney, there we go. Like, everyone else knows more about what happened with Sydney than we have ever learned still.
Do we know what animal Sydney is? So the only reason I thought of that
I don't know
now,
if we know.
Well, I mean, you and I know that obviously Chase is gonna know.
No, this is a this is a moment where I know just because there's art. So I know what Sydney is, but I don't know if we've learned
in
what
the
Sydney
story.
is.
I don't think that I don't remember if they revealed to us what animal Sydney is. If they did and I missed it and I forgot, sorry guys.
It's completely contingent on whether or not you can remember, because otherwise no. But also it's not. I don't think the animal's necessarily a spoiler, but we'll see.
It's one that can't swim, probably.
It's a monkey. Famously bad at swimming in the Howleyverse is apes.
Yes. Oh, yes.
We set that up
at Astra.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if your ape kind could swim. I mean, have you seen orangutans? They're pretty good.
All right.
They swim well.
Other character just left. Fuck.
Goofy Bat.
What is her? Oh my goodness, my name center of my brain is gone. Anyway, he just left.
Yeah, it's okay.
Once he disappears around the corner of the motel, I take out my phone and tab over to our group chat. I'm not clicked into the window, so A button didn't work. Oop, and then me clicking on it made fan art of my Elden Ring character show up.
Oh, Keith.
There we go.
Oh, Keith.
It came back just in time to reveal Friday.
Oh.
Remember this show? What?
Friday. Oh, wait, isn't that? I was thinking wait, hold on. I'm singing baby.
Yeah, I was like, I took a moment to register what you just.
I was thinking of the one that's like, what's the? Do I sit in the front seat? Do I sit in the back seat? I'm gonna eat some cereal.
Yeah, I was thinking of Friday by Rebecca.
I don't remember how that song goes, which is probably fine with me. So
that song's 10 years old.
I'm old.
It's actually about to be 11. It's 11 years old at some point this year because it's from 2012, the same year as a Gangnam Style.
Oh God!
And Call Me Maybe. That's what that year was.
That song Gangnam Style just started playing at my work, which means that it's like now that signified to me that it's like been 10 years, because that's like how that kind of works, I think. And I'm like, I have to be at work hearing that. I'm like, this is very odd to me.
What if this is Sydney?
Oh, that's what I just glanced up and I'm like, yeah, maybe. How does Sydney sound?
I don't know. We don't know who this is.
I'm a great swimmer, I swear it.
A young woman's voice.
Okay, good. Pick the right person.
It's distant, but near. Like a video with the volume nearly all the way down. I strain myself to listen more closely, and the spoken words start to come into focus. That's doubtful. You're a Yote after all. A man's voice, but barely audible. I'm inside the cabin of a very large vehicle. It's rickety, and I have to hold on to something to keep from shaking all over the place. I can see two people in the front now. Their silhouettes pronounced, but I can't make out their faces. It's like they're distorted, water droplets on fresh ink. The one in the passenger seat is a woman, a coyote. She has lots of jewelry. Not that I can see it, but it jingles around whenever she moves. That reminds me of my mom. The man on the left, who's driving, is an otter. He's wearing a hunting cap that's too small for his noggin. Whenever he turns his head, I catch a glimpse of him in the mirror, his face blurred. The only part that's distinguishable are his eyes, like shining blue headlights in the dark. I think I'm seeing things from his point of view, even though he's not really me. The cabin behind the two front seats is roomy, like a van. In fact, it feels like there are more people behind me, but I can't look over my shoulder. I'm stuck, shaking around in between the front seat and somewhere in the back, near the rear cabin doors.
Yeah, and you're a dirty specious, Dev.
The times are changing. That might be you, actually.
The times are a-changin', and you best get with them. Elsewise, I might need to find myself more sophisticated company, you hear?
The woman responds. This is all so familiar for some reason. Deja vu.
I knew it was Jan.
Jan, you read dirty novels and you eat fast food like a hog. I've heard of Meseta witch doctors which are more worldly and sophisticated than you. He grunts, laughing a little at his joke. Haha.
Oh, please, darling. Reading a little novella with the word penis in it ain't gonna damn me straight to hell.
A mirror.
Second, I got my own income now. You know, a job. You might hear of one someday. I can use the money I make from said job to buy whatever I want that makes me feel special. Sometimes that's a little romance book at the drugstore, and sometimes it's a large vanilla milkshake with extra cherries. Third and final, I don't think the Meseta have witch doctors, they got shamans. I met one once. He was a very nice old man, about 4 feet tall too, pocket size.
The woman sounds rather pleased with herself for countering all the man's comments.
She's like, 1, 2, 3, like she knocks down his arguments one by one.
I'm like, whoever has like a mental list prepared.
I do.
Wild.
I do.
So people, I can count them all off.
If people talk at me for so long, I'm like, okay, I gotta remember all these things. So I can come back and like, you know.
For me,
pachow, pachow.
This is what I do to you.
No, you're very good.
Yeah. For me, it's always funny when someone's like, first of all, blah 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 blah. Second of all, that's all I had to say. I have this planned out.
No, I do. A blah 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 blah. 2. I'll forget. I was doing a letter or number system. And then I'll be like, I had another thing to say, but it's been so long I forgot what it was. I should have written it down.
I should have written it down. I should have taken like minutes for this conversation. The man lets out a dismissive noise. Feh. You met one, eh? Well, I do. Sell you a love potion? Another chitter of laughter at his own joke.
Chitter. I don't know, hun. You tell me. You reckon it's working?
Her tone is flirty, and I can practically feel them both smiling. I'm outside now, my head spinning. We no-clipped out of the van, and now we're on the road. I like the increase of hand-drawn backgrounds once you get to these later routes. As much as people think the photo edit stuff is like charming, I'm like, but these are really good though.
Well, and also you can make them kind of eerie, like how this one is, because like these ones creep me out a lot more.
I'm walking, but it's not my body that's moving, it's someone else's. Their movements are slow and deliberate, a stab of pain when the body's left leg moves too high, or the joints rotate at the knees. The fur on my arms is ice white, and the muzzle is feline. Some sort of albino cat, trudging one foot after the other beside the highway, caught up in a strange daze. Sepia-tinted memories fill our heads of places that look straight out of Southwestern Adventure's Frontier Quarter. I know what's happening. These recollections are his existence, and the physical reality in front of him a fading dream, something that causes pain to traverse. This world is not my home.
This is not the stove I know.
I don't wanna live in this world anymore. I'm just thinking of the Kentucky Route Zero song. I don't know if it's probably not the Kentucky Route Zero song. It's probably like a folk song that existed already.
I went straight to SpongeBob. Sorry.
No. It's just what that line made me think. This world is not his home anymore, as much as it hurts him to think that. One of his feet steps upon the pavement, then the other, crossing the lanes to walk directly down the little yellow line down the center. The people he loved are all dead, but he doesn't want to join them. He just wants them back. As his own senses fail him, the memories in his head keep getting more and more real. They're there in his mind. He can see the stitching in their clothing, the smell of their fur, the chuckle in their voice. What the fuck happens in the smoke room? Because this is the protagonist of the smoke room.
Okay, I was gonna say, you're like, I know what's going on. I'm like, yeah. I don't.
Yeah, if you tell me that we have the perspective of an albino cat, I'm like, oh, it's the protagonist of the smoke room. He's a white puma.
Oh,
and also,
that's sick.
Samuel. And he's also the character that I established is who was talking to us last route, like the voice in our head. So there's some kind of connection between Chase and Samuel. And there's some people that would prefer if I didn't know anything about Samuel, which I don't really know anything about Samuel, besides his name and appearance, then that he's in the smoke room. But it'd be really hard not to know, because, you know,
albino puma.
Just cultural osmosis. It all exists in like a world of like these characters existing right next to, like, the smoke room just exists right next to Echo and Arches and Adastra, just in the store. Like, yeah, it's not an invisible product. And in fact, I think a lot of these spin-offs I think Smoke Room might have started before they finished Echo or something. Like, so like I don't think it's that reasonable to not know Samuel at some point, but it's like written to be viable with or without. It's just a thing where like since I don't know anything about Smoke Room, it doesn't give me answers. It just raises more questions about Smoke Room, where I'm like, what the fuck happened?
It's not one of those things where I think it's gonna affect our playthrough of this game, really. Yeah. And I also don't think it's gonna, like, I think basically if Keith didn't know, it would just be like one of those things that never really got answered in the game. It would just be there. And so it's not as if like
it just led to the result where when he started listing all the names of the characters from the Smoke Room that are all the routes in that game at the end of Leo's route, I'm like, I know what they all look like. But I think the Smoke Room also has routes, just like this one does, that are all based around individual characters. So this raises the additional question of like, whatever the fuck happened with Samuel, where everyone he cares about is dead, is this what happens in one of the routes? Or is this one of the bad endings of one of the routes? Like, because the very premise of even understanding what happens in the smoke room is nebulous, because what happens in Echo? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you tried to say definitively what happened in Echo, I assume that it's the descent into madness of a town every week, no matter what route you're in. But the actual events beyond that are very hard to actually say anything definitively because of how every route diverges so wildly.
Yeah, like you know, you can argue about like canon, I guess.
Yeah, it just leads to a thing where like,
and also it's like this could be a bad ending that results in like an alternate universe that you can argue is or is not canon depending on how you play the Smoke Room. So it's like you can't really. I mean, all of these things are equally as true as any other one. I mean, if you play the game through and that's the ending you got, that is true to you. Like, that is canon for your playthrough. It's hard to argue things like this. I just don't think that you knowing this is going to affect anything. If anything, I think it just makes it feel better that we don't have some other hovering mystery that we're just going to try to link to things in this game and make our lives confusing. So
it just allows me to connect this vision to some of the stuff from the last route and not just have it be like a random floating thing that we can't connect to anything. And
that we would end the game not knowing, like, we're like, oh, that's weird that we never got, you know.
Or it comes up a lot in this route, who knows?
That's true.
He can see the stitching in their clothing, the smell of their fur, the chuckle in their voice, the touch of their paws, the taste of their lips, because he's a little hoe bag. It's such a sad way to be. Oh, I'm back in the van. The otter and the coyote are trading glances with each other now. The more brusque personality of the otter seems tempered by the coyote, like he's trying not to take himself too seriously around her. The radio is playing something now. Something that was there before, but I couldn't quite make it out. It's not music, just voices. Drawn out, distorted, and mostly unintelligible. I catch something that sounds like nervous laughter from a high-pitched voice. Then, a more baritone one responds with something reassuring. It's okay. At least that's what I think it says. Finally, a squelching noise, like squishing soft putty between your paws.
Oh no.
The feeling that something is behind me in the van grows. I've been here before. Oh. I know I have. But when? No matter what I do, I can't turn around. Even the rearview mirror reflects a distorted image. I can just barely make out something back there. Undulating in constant restless motion, strobing between pulsating flashes of faint red light. There's applause, like someone's clapping. Clapping cheeks.
Yeah, I was gonna what is it?
What is it? What could it be?
Oh no.
The handles of the rear cabin door seems to shudder and click, like someone is trying to open them from the outside.
I don't feel good about this.
But that's impossible, we're moving. It feels like I'm yanked back out to the road again, with the old man walking down the center line. The memories in his head grow more perspicuous as he walks.
I don't know that word.
It's perspicuous. I don't know. Grabbing the phone.
I like to know words.
Let's know a word. How quickly can you type the word that's either perspicuous or perspicuous?
Already fucking forgot. Spell it. Okay, there we go.
It's
I got
on the screen. You fool.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry.
I'm helping you.
Clearly expressed and easily understood. Lucid.
Ah, so he's walking better.
It is perspicuous. Yeah.
His walk is strengthening and sobering.
His hair is gaining clarity.
It's as if it's building towards some great zenith or a point of total clarity. I guess that would have.
Yeah, I could have figured it out ourselves.
I'm not sure how I know this. There's a rumbling of an engine coming from behind, puttering in rhythmic fashion. Again, I can't turn to face it, but I know it's there. And it's getting closer. The engine roars. It's coming right up behind me. This is nuts. Fuck. What the fuck am I doing? It's the high-pitched voice from the radio. I can hear it now, clearer than ever before. You're doing great, Chula. The baritone voice. That was Leo? The albino, older man stops, turning as if he heard this too. Heavy breaths escape my throat and splay forth, fogging up the windshield.
This is trippy.
The two lovers exchange a kiss, eyes lulled. There are lovers in the back as well, fumbling with themselves in the same red light.
Yeah.
The red light in the van.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up earlier. And
now we've established that it's Leo, so it's the Route 65 van.
That's why he's like, we've been in this van before. It's very possible that Chase has been in that van before, right? Like, whose van is that? Who owns that van? We don't know that. Probably the person who's driving it, I'm assuming.
I'm trying to remember. Leo drives a truck, right?
Yeah, Leo drives a truck. But also, I don't like the, you're doing great, Chula. Like, I don't know. Did we fuck in the back of that van before?
Well, if it's the scene we saw in Route 65, then we weren't the one
we
there.
were not. But, I mean, it doesn't mean that was the only time Leo fucked in the back of that van. It's like a moment that
we walked in on while we were, like, passing out from a head wound.
Yeah, but he only calls us Chula, right? Like,
Or does he?
He better not fucking call. I mean, I don't like him anyway, but he better not be calling no one else Chula, man.
Was he already hooking up? I mean, he probably was already hooking up.
Yeah, but Chulas aren't special days.
There are lovers in the back as well, fumbling with themselves in the same red light. That same red light that bathes the entire sky. The cabin doors fling open, and I can finally see the person who's trying to get in from outside. A runty-looking, amber-eyed otter stands there, wearing an oversized blue t-shirt and khaki shorts.
Oh no,
so that's Chase.
That's us.
So we just saw Chase from somebody else's perspective. It's me. I'm younger and I don't have the goatee.
Good.
Somehow I'm just floating behind the moving vehicle as if we were standing still. The color in younger me's eyes starts to fade before shifting to an icier blue. He shrinks, and soon the figure standing there is a little boy in his swimming trunks. Him. What does he want? Another shift, and he springs about up with distorted, jolty movements. The transition is nowhere near as smooth as the first. An otter in his hunting cap, far too tight for his head, the same blue eyes piercing right through me. Bronson. Mr. Bronson. Sydney's father. I thought so. I was really about to say that. I'm like, Chase shrunk into a small child, but he said him instead of me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is that Sydney? And then we just went to an adult with the same eyes. I'm like, well, Sydney's dead, so that means that the hunting cat person is Sydney's dad. I'm one step ahead of it in a way it's unprovable because I didn't call it out immediately.
Well, I just remember like a long while ago us talking about how people were seeing another Chase, right? And how Chase was thinking how there was only one other otter in town.
Yeah. The old man. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Was that Mr. Bronson?
Maybe.
I don't remember if that was
called out specifically.
When this, he didn't, I mean, they think they said his name, but I don't remember if it was the same name. I just remember like when this happened just now, when I saw the otter in the front seat, my first thought was like, oh, that must be the one other otter that lives in town. Yeah. I remember them specifically saying there's only one other otter, but his body shape
because you think if they kept mentioning the other otter in town that they'd think of him in terms of how they relate to him, which is being Sydney's father.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
But I don't think it's ever come up. But yes, I was quietly laughing to myself when you were like, it's probably an animal that can't swim, because I knew it was an otter.
Well, that's fucking ironic.
It's like Ray. Sydney's father. Is Mr. Bronson also the one driving the van we're in? I fucking better not be involved with Leo's underage escapades.
Yeah, that really makes everything
Leo's definitely under 18 in this scene, and hopefully everyone involved is under 18. Or it's very unnerving. I see no reaction from the blurry figure in the driver's seat, still more occupied with the coyote next to him. He's only there for a second before his face practically tears away in jagged artifacting. Mr. Bronson twists in on himself, expression uncaring as it falls apart and fades into ragged white fur. The elderly albino on the road. It's him. At least I think it is. His silhouette is more abstracted, the detail of his features somehow darker. So the fact that the character that can't be here is also in these scenes makes me think that the Bronson scenes are separate and unrelated.
That's like what I was just trying to parse out in my brain.
I think we might be seeing the lifetime history of this van in some way. And so we're seeing Jan and Bronson driving around, but then maybe after Sydney died, he might have skipped town and left the van, and Leo might have adopted it to do his shit. And maybe it was even originally the Puma's van, once upon a time. It's a really old van, I don't know. How
old were, that would have to be an immensely old van, wouldn't it? Like, isn't the smoke room like...
Well, I think the smoke room is recent, because the smoke room is more recent than, it's more recent than the ghosts. the ghosts that are like tied to the founding of the town and the original crime and everything. Smoke Room is more recent than that, but it's still old timey. It's like 100 years ago or some shit.
Yeah, I don't think like the van. That can't be the same. That's like a tracer van. Like,
well, I mean, I don't think the van would have been from the game. I'm just saying that the Puma might live to be like 90 or something, and at some point had a van near the end. He's being described as older, but that's vague.
Yeah, it is very vague.
From a young person's perspective.
Well, now they're saying elderly. So.
When your protagonist is 20. Did he say elderly? He does say elderly here.
But anyways.
Because I think the characters in the Smoke Room definitely look like older people than the people in Echo, where everyone's like 20. Mm-hmm. But sounds like he might actually be old at this point. So he lived a while. That's why his legs are so... Yeah. He also has constant leg problems, which is why he empathizes with Chase.
That's why they bonded.
Yeah, he possessed Chase and passed on all of his leg problems, and that's why we keep hurting our knees.
Oh my goodness.
Especially last route, when they came off.
Oh my gosh.
I like how the creepy background looks like eyes, even though it's obviously not. You keep thinking something's looking at you in the distance.
Yeah, I know, like having long shots where like the end of the long shot is like out of view is always it's always pretty creepy.
His silhouette is more abstracted. The detail of his features somehow darker. His form floats there for some time. I keep waiting for it to shift, but it doesn't. Instead, it turns its head to look directly at me with stark, red eyes. They widen, still appearing, and I try to step back, but I can't move. Like fluorescent bulbs, they begin to illuminate, blinding me as they grow closer and closer. I hold up my paw just as the old man's mouth opens, about to speak. What?
Oh.
Ka-thunk. Did he just get run over by the thing that he thought was behind him? Oh.
Yeah.
He got run over by Mr. Bronson.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
What an ending for the character that we just know now preemptively. Before we meet him otherwise. We're like, this old man got run over by Mr. Bronson.
I like how they fit Mr. Bronson in that tiny little text box of his name. What?
I'm just thinking about ghost logic and like horror logic and like hauntings and unfinished business and like crimes. Like, if he killed Samuel, that makes it suspicious that, you know, shortly afterwards, presumably, his son died.
I mean, that's not really a ghost logic thing. Ghosts don't usually go like if you're like Freddy, it's like a Freddy Krueger slasher logic. Like ghosts are usually pretty.
I'm talking about a horror movie, the ghost logic.
Yeah, no, they don't.
It's like if Samuel gets run over and murdered by Mr. Bronson, and then Mr. Bronson's son dies under suspicious circumstances, like that's an interesting connection that might matter. Usually,
it's the immediate, like the only, like, you can get haunted for fucking with somebody and killing them. They can haunt you. They're not gonna like affect your family and relatives. Usually, they can affect a house and they can affect an object.
They can take their revenge however they want.
Yeah, but that's not ghost logic.
Why are you ghost gatekeeping?
Because that's not standard.
Ghosts aren't real.
They're not, obviously. But like that's not a typical thing.
I don't. Maybe we would consume different ghosts. Janice, you okay?
Bronson, what did you hit? Bronson, don't just sit there. You answer me right now.
I don't know.
Jesus, sweet Mary Christ.
Mr. Bronson is despondent, while Janice is starting to get frantic. Everything is dark, but I can still see a slight red splatter on the center of the windshield. A large chunk of fur is caught in the wiper. Oh yeah. In as a human being, if you hit like an animal on accident, you get the chunks of fur on the grill. But these are all anthropomorphic walking people animals, and so if you hit one, you'd get fur all over your car. That's horrible. Mr. Bronson steps out of the vehicle, his blurry form flickering into something a little more focused. His clothes are loose hanging, jeans bell-bottomed, very 60s. I can see the whiskers in his face, like they were my own. My heart is practically beating out of his chest, his fur damp with cold sweat. The fear is electric, the buzzing hum which permeates the landscape. Are they hearing it too? I decide to move with him, seeing from his point of view. Mr. Bronson covers his face, paws trembling. He can't see anything in the darkness. The otter nearly leaps out of his fur, startled by the voice. It's a weak, desperate cry, a gurgling of pain following it immediately after. Mr. Bronson returns to the source of the pathetic sound. Or runs the source, Janice getting out of the van as well. She clutches her bag to the side, her high heels clacking against the asphalt.
Bronson, oh my God.
I see it. I see him. The albino feline is stuck, wedged between the fender skirt and the wheel itself, a space about a foot wide. He's practically folded into it, legs snapped upward and jutting out the side. Wild red eyes dart from Mr. Bronson to Janice, and back again. I can't tell if he's pleading for help or asking why. All I know is that he's in excruciating pain, beyond the capacity for tears, just instant shock. Images flash before my eyes, and now he's not looking at anyone anymore. He's devoid of movement beyond the rapid heaving of his chest.
Jesus!
She screams.
His shoulder's caught under the tire, and he's bleeding. Oh God, Bronson, we gotta do something.
I know we gotta do something! He shouts back at her, eyes nearly popping out of his head. Jack. Janice gasps as the old man begins to speak again. A look of realization crosses her no longer blurry face, and she points toward the back of the van.
Get the jack!
Mr. Bronson blinks, then quickly rushes to the back to get his toolkit, flinging the doors open. I doubt that's what he meant. Just because I doubt that the dying man is giving coherent instructions about how to save him.
Yeah,
I think there's just someone named Jack.
Yeah.
In place of obscure lovers are a mound of tarantulas. Hot?
I mean, in my opinion, I'd rather open the back of a van and see a mound of tarantulas because they're cute.
Burrowing into each other as if trying to hide from the newly opened doors. Some are blondes, while others are the more standard rust and black cover.
The rust and black colored ones are not from around here. The blonde ones are Tucson blondes. They're very common in the US.
Spider lore. He does not seem to notice or care about these creatures which flee from his presence, instead diving for his little olive toolbox. I try to step away, but I'm stuck. I'm stuck seeing through his eyes now. He flings his tools around, hammers, wrenches, and rebar clattering to the side. No Jack.
No Jack.
Mr. Bronson stares, motionless, until Janice's shrieking voice breaks the silence.
What is taking you so long? Get out of there, Bronson.
The otter exhales shakily, then makes his way back to Janice, giving her a blank look. Help me lift.
What?
I said help me lift.
You are kidding me. You don't have a jack.
Shut up and help.
I mean,
shut up and help.
You should have a jack.
Yeah, it would help.
He'll probably have a jack
also
in his car the rest of his life.
Code. Don't hit people.
Well, I mean, this was a very empty road. How did they hit him?
Roadhead.
Maybe.
there was a lot of sexual imagery happening in the scene already that was suggested to be the other people, not them, but also specifically I got disposable income now. And they're like, oh yeah? What, they give you a love potion? It's like, I don't know, is it working?
I just think they were looking at each other and smiling and shit. I think that they were just being cute and not driving, obviously.
It's open, but it could also could have been get busy. I don't know if they were a couple or if he picked her up.
Well, it sounds like they know each other because they're like.
Well, everyone knows each other. It's Echo, but she could still be like she could have been a prostitute at the time. Yeah,
I guess so. But I mean, the way they're talking to each other seems like it's it seems like they're friendly with each other. Like they're very comfortable. You know.
Yeah.
I can hear the smile in their voice. This is like the prostitute's not gonna like her John very much. It's like it's not gonna be like that charming of a interaction.
Well, maybe it's just the it's like when you keep doing commissions for the same person and you're friends.
I mean,
small town prostitutes might have a different dynamic.
Yeah, I don't know. There is like like I don't know.
I just thought it was because the correlation between like having a disposable income now and
I assume that meant she's working at the fucking diner. Like
she marry a heiress.
And he's giving her shit about her dirty well, because he knows that she reads dirty novels and she eats fast food. Like I feel like they know each other,
Yeah.
But then also like the whole dirty novel thing, like he's giving her shit about it. I don't think he'd give a prostitute a shit about reading a dirty novel. Like that's like easy mode for them. That's like not even a thing they blink at.
I'm just trying to come up with how do you fuck up so bad that you hit somebody.
It could have been Roadhead because they mentioned the schlorp sound, which I thought was coming from the back. But it could have been
that's the thing.
The
we heard that
Roadhead
behind us, and I think that's because Chase, as a ghostly figure, keeps kind of having his consciousness float in the middle seat, the second row of seats, and so Bronson and Jan are ahead of him, and behind him is Leo and somebody else, but at a different time. Having that, like, movie theater experience of, like, what does the sound behind me mean? Is that food, or is something happening behind me?
Yeah. The silly petty comparison was not...
Someone's stirring mac and cheese in the seat behind me.
Macaroni in a pot.
There's applause. Very good.
Yay, macaroni.
We got too funny for a dark scene.
Yeah, shame on us. We're terrible.
Mr. Bronson slips his paws onto the side of the van next to the wheel, squeezing his palms against the chrome. Janice quickly does the same on the other side of the wheel. On 3, lift.
Mr. Old Man, we're gonna get you out of there in no time. You just gotta slide on free once this goes up, okay?
I don't think he can do that.
Dude, no.
She tries to put on a reassuring voice, but the albino just stares past her with those intense red eyes. 1.
Bronson, I don't know if I can do this.
2. She shakes, tears beginning to well within her eyes.
Oh, God.
3. The van creaks as it begins to rise up off the ground, at least on this corner. Janice screams at her own exertions, muscles spasming as her arms shake.
I can't!
The old man begins sliding his broken legs down the side of the wheel, one of his free paws grabbing the side of the fender skirt. Low moans escape from inside his chest, whimpers of unimaginable pain and shock as his crushed bones realign themselves inside him. He makes it most of the way out by the time Janice's arms give out, the van instantly lowering back down a couple inches.
I'm sorry.
Fuck! Mr. Bronson spreads his legs wide, his muscles quivering as he tries to hold the whole van by himself. Go! Get out of there! He screams down at the albino, his blue eyes meeting the albino's as the old feline begins to nudge himself out from under the wheel. No! The otter howls as the van continues to lower despite his best efforts. That's not the animal I would choose to pick up a van.
No, which is why this isn't working.
No. The old man feels it touch the side of his muzzle. His breathing quickens, arms reaching for something, asking for anything to help him. Then some gentle pressure. His eyes are bleary and moist now like a lost child's. Then more pressure. Is it just gonna crush his head?
This is horrible.
This is a fucked up scene.
This is horrible. I knew this was gonna happen as soon as they tried to lift up the van.
That's just gonna get worse.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh my god.
Janice screams. She screams and screams until her vocal cords fray like old yarn. Time passes. The body of the old man is dragged into a large open hole at the side of the road. Mr. Bronson's paws are bloodied, nails chipped from digging without a shovel. Janice refuses to help, and she's been sitting in the van quietly for the past half hour, crying to herself. She can't stop shaking. He buries the body in a small ditch, trying not to look at his half-crushed face. It seems to stare at him, asking for help from beyond the grave. He could have helped, but he wasn't strong enough. Maybe this is what he wanted after all. To die? Why else would he have been walking straight toward them in the middle of the road? He had plenty of time to move out of the way, but he didn't. He's rationalizing. Because we saw Samuel's perspective and he literally turned around and was surprised when he got hit.
Yeah.
So Bronson's like rewriting what happened mentally because he didn't actually see it, but he needs to like maintain his self-image of not being somebody that just killed someone randomly. It was like he didn't realize the shock of what he had done until he was tangled in the wheel skirt of the van, his bones jutting from his skin and blood dripping from his overalls. Once he's completely covered, Mr. Bronson peers back at the van. The splatter from the impact is still visible. He places a small stone to mark the grave of the unknown man before heading back and getting into the driver's seat. Janice says nothing to him, and for that he is thankful. Mr. Bronson drives off the road and into a small valley a short ways away. He parks in front of some bushes and collects his things, trying to ignore the new, throbbing pain in his head. Together they silently exit the van and begin their slow walk back to Echo. A lone figure watches them from atop a hill, an impossibly tall silhouette with lanky arms that hang past its knees. We're together now. Impossibly tall figure. It could be the Trevor Henderson monster?
It could be, but that thing is, well,
but that
I didn't get the impression that thing spoke or...
Yeah, spoke or stood. Granted, we didn't get to meet it. We didn't
get to say hello.
No, we didn't really like shake hands or anything.
Thank goodness.
Man.
I'm a little distraught.
No, that was a lot. That was an extremely, extremely bad time for that character. It's also distracting enough to like blow right past the like Leo revelations because of how brief they are. You're like, what the fuck, Mr. Bronson? Would you like some distressingly dark scene where a character suffers unimaginable pain and then all attempts to save them are made worse? And
that was really great writing, I will say. That was, I was visualizing all that very well.
I didn't want to.
I mean, I like going there sometimes. That's a place I go.